Welcome, folks, for all of you who are joining our presentation today around how IBM's planning analytics tool could be a great potential solution for anybody who's using Oracle Hyperion's Essbase application. We're calling this a quick start workshop, and with that, I'm going to introduce who LPA Software Solutions is, and we'll get right to it, and we're going to demonstrate what we believe is a high value added solution. But first, a message from your sponsor, LPA here. We are an IBM Analytics partner. This chart shows all the different things we do. Today, we're going to be focused clearly on the financial and operational analytics, the bottom center of the chart. That's mainly IBM's planning analytics tool that we're going to talk about. But we also do IBM's Cognos business intelligence tool, the top right corner of this chart. We have skills in that application, as well as advanced analytics, top left corner of this chart, around SPSS Modeler, Watson, Virtual Assistant, all kinds of different predictive analytics tools. And in the bottom right corner of this chart, it talks about information management, data warehousing, classic data warehouse design, ETL skills. LPA has all those. So essentially anything around analytics and data warehousing, data management, LPA has skills in. Obviously, today we're focused on the financial and operational analytics. We've done projects in this analytics space in just about every industry. As you can see here, this is just a sampling in industrial sector, healthcare, public education, financial, etc. With that, I want to introduce to you Steve Beckenstein from IBM. He's a technical sales leader. And he's going to talk to you. He's got 2 or 3 quick slides, and then we're going to jump into the demo. Steve?
Thanks, Don. Thank you, Don. As Don said, my name is Steve Beckenstein. I'm a technical sales specialist over here at IBM. Came over with the Cognos acquisition and have been focused on the Office of Finance since 2004. So what we'll do this afternoon is talk a little bit about how planning analytics kind of closes some gaps for folks who are using a Hyperion planning solution. And then, of course, a couple of other, gratuitous sales points as opt to be seen in the demonstration. So in a nutshell, planning analytics is a one-stop shop to do all of your plans and applications. As you see this little 4-box slide here: navigation, plans and applications, AI forecasting. Of course, we use our own AI and Watson, dashboards and charts, creating content. Users can do this easily on their own without the need for any involvement from IT and those folks. So it's really a one-stop shop that is made for those plan contributors and plan stakeholders. It's not something that lives in IT. Next slide, Don, if you will. So as most of you know, because I would imagine that you've been working with planning applications for a while, and certainly if you're using something from Oracle, this platform is meant to be used across the organization. So it's not something that lives strictly in finance, because business doesn't live strictly in finance. Whether it's in HR, whether you're looking at ops, so ops could be any number of different areas depending upon your industry. Financial services, that's going to be, for insurance, is going to be the folks doing the actuaries and premium planning, those kinds of things. With banking, it's going to be customer retention, deciding and delivering what types of products the banks have, et cetera. This is a platform that is meant to be utilized across the organization and not just live in finance, because the whole idea is that you want to drive the best set of business decisions that you can, the best business outcomes that you can, by utilizing this tool as a means to drive those decisions, to look at different scenarios, et cetera. Next slide, Don. Next slide. One more. Yeah, there you go. Oh, you missed one. Oh, there it is. Okay. So comparatively, when we've talked to folks who have come over from a Hyperion environment, this is what they've told us, and then what we know, of course, from our competitive intelligence. I mentioned earlier, creating, contributing, analyzing, managing your plan all in one place. Planning analytics gives you one workspace, is what we call it, to do all of these things, whether it's building out your plan, whether it's doing that initial analysis, looking at the values, looking at the information, collaborating, communicating, deriving workflow, having folks work through a guided plan is how we characterize it. This application, from its very genesis, many, many years ago, is built in memory. So it's not something that is going to be using disk space. It is a tool that is very fast and has really no limitations around data. A number of big customers use it. The first one that comes to mind is Ancestry.com. Billions and billions of cells of data. They've been a customer for a long time, as has Amazon, Nike, Uber, in financial services, Wells Fargo, Credit Suisse, BlackRock, State Farm, Geico. Lots of folks using this platform. Virtual dimensions. This is something, a lot of applications, a lot of planning solutions out there say they offer these virtual dimensions. And Oracle has a virtual dimension. The way that we do ours is differently. Our virtual dimension is truly that. It allows you to virtually expand the utility of any given model without expanding the size of the cube. Okay, so a dimension is a part of a cube, right? So dimensions make up cubes. These virtual dimensions allow you to develop and analyze different avenues of analysis and of kind of looking at specific scenarios and that sort of thing without having to expand the size of the plan itself. So that means you retain your performance. You're not making things more complicated from a structural standpoint. Talked about predictive and AI. A lot of applications out there utilize some form of machine learning or artificial intelligence. Oracle has their own that's tied to their database offering, I believe. Again, from the very beginning with us, we have used Watson. Watson is our own platform. We developed Watson, and Watson has been around for a long time now. A lot of strength and capability in that platform, and it is a innate part of planning analytics DNA. Talked about the charts and the visualizations, and I'll build out something quickly when we take a look at the product itself. But again, the idea here is that instead of having to utilize and rely on code to do these things or have someone build it for you, you can build that content yourself. You can even build content in Excel and use that content in our workspace, which is our online deployment. Structural changes to the plan. So this means, in a nutshell, if you want to add a product or a cost center or a profit center or anything that is structural to the plan, there isn't any need to shut down the server, kick everybody out, make the change with code or whatever that may be, and bring it back in. We don't need that. You can create new structural elements on the fly and then automatically deploy those changes out to the plan. And what would happen is folks working the plan would be notified that there is a change, and they would simply click refresh, and then they would have that new line item. So maybe a new account, et cetera. Talked a little bit about Excel a minute ago. Taking it to the next level. Everyone in finance knows Excel. We've all used it. It's been around for a long time. It's a great personal productivity tool, right? So what we've done is we've taken what Excel offers in the way of personal productivity and have amplified that utility within the plan by infusing planning analytics DNA into Excel. So there are any number and array of things you can do in Excel. So you're amplifying that power. In our case, it makes it easier for users who have been working in Excel to continue to work in Excel and then create and maintain and contribute to the plan with that information being dynamically pushed back to the plan, right? So it's all connected. It's connected live data from the plan living in Excel. So you can, of course, do some ad hoc analysis. You can build some nice reports for distribution. You can even build content in Excel and push that content straight back into a workspace. So like a workbook in Planning Analytics Workspace, which could live side by side with other cube views and charts and other pieces of information in any given workspace book. So a lot of power given to Excel, because our idea was to enhance what Excel did instead of, do something where you have, maybe like with Hyperion, they have Smart Views. Smart Views is their Excel deployment, their Excel product that mostly works with HFM, but they also utilize across any Essbase source, which also would be Hyperion Planning. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the demonstration. So if you want to turn it over to me, Don, and I'll get my screen shared.
It's coming your way.
All righty. There it is. There's a nice little thing as I am now the presenter. Okay. All right. So can you guys see the dashboard?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is where any user would start in Planning Analytics. So this is your landing page, so to speak. This is all, of course, deployed online. This is in Chrome. We can run on Firefox if you want, or IE, of course. But what you see front and center, a few things. You'll notice these tiles down here. These tiles are plans or applications. So a little bit about how we organize content in Planning Analytics. So you have applications, you have assets, you have plans. Assets would be an income statement, balance sheet, could be a product, could be CapEx, could be HR expenses, et cetera. So anything that has its own purpose in the plan, that's an asset. Applications are used as containers for those assets. So you can group assets from even different models if you wanted into an application. Additionally, those applications can be used to then create plans. So a plan is where you would create a guided workflow that would walk users through the planning process. Now, as I mentioned earlier, everything can be done right here from this single workspace. So even if it's administration, so administration would be looking over the servers, looking over other content, onboarding users, changing user capabilities, user security, et cetera. That would be admin. Well, you can do that all here in one place. Of course, that is conditioned on what appropriate roles those particular folks have. So here we have, one place again to create, contribute, analyze, manage everything. So if we take a look at one of these particular assets, so 24 retail is one of our models. And if we look at, just jump in here, what you'll see is we have a workflow here. So this is a plan that has workflow. You can, of course, attach announcements or notifications for any particular milestone in the plan. So when the plan is open for contribution, when plans are submitted, you can share notes and information with the announcements, and that's all those notifications are going to live there in the plan. So just to take a look a little bit deeper in, this review performance step, so you'll see we have 5 steps here. So we have this review performance step, headcount planning, op expense, capital expense, and review plan. 5 different steps. In this case, we have a due date. There are particular assets associated with this particular plan step. And then there are certain groups who have access to do what they need to do here. So this is how you can manage completion of the plan, manage the evolution of the plan from start to finish. You can also have a situation if you want, like in the second step, you'll see that this step here requires a submit. This is more just review here. This is more wheels meet the road. So you can see we even have a progress indicator, and it's pale. It's kind of hard to see here, but if I take my mouse off, you can see that little gray line. Well, that gray line will populate with the green or red line. And that will continue to move towards 100% as folks add content, as they contribute and submit that information. At any given time, a plan administrator can analyze where everybody is in the plan, can status where folks are, reach out to them, ask for clarification, etc., all that good stuff. So to look at what guided planning would look like, I actually have dashboard open here. So what you'll see here in this case is on the right hand side, we have just a very simple dashboard. It has different types of content, right? So of course, planning analytics offers a broad array of different charts, graphs, any kind of visualization, right? Lots and lots of selections that you can make to appropriately communicate that information to that specific user or user group. So here we have a little a map graph, a word graph, some line charts, and then something over here is worth a bit of a mention is this is an influence map. So what's kind of cool about influence maps is they allow you to state specific goals up through the organization in different places, and you can identify weak links in the chain. So in the revenue chain, the expense chain. So at the end of the day here, of course, our demo company wants to meet their plan as stated to the market. Well, we see that most everything is green, and you even have traffic lighting and trending, but a couple are red here, right? So you'll see growing revenue and growing profitability. Well, that makes sense because revenue, your margin, that's going to be where your profitability is, right? So it's a more concise way to identify bottlenecks in the system and go straight to managing to the exception versus having to look at things from a broad brush standpoint. And it just takes more time that way. So that's kind of a cool way to identify things that need attention immediately. Now, back to the left. So guided planning, right? So we have our 5 steps. Remember, we just saw these a second ago. So all of these steps you'll see there, they haven't been started. So that empty circle just means they haven't been started. Now, once work has begun, that will change to a work in progress icon. And then once they're submitted, there's a little checkbox icon that pops in there. So you have these, again, kind of traffic lighting and statusing to tell you where you are along the lines of the plan. And so this guides you through. So remember, we had those 2 assets in our first KPI analysis step. Well, in this case, maybe we want to do a couple of things here. But before I do, just to get you familiar with what you're seeing here. So, of course, we have some buttons over here. These buttons will take us to other plans within our whole entire overarching plan. These buttons here, these are just dimensions. So you can use these dimensions as levers to kind of mix and match different intersections of information to get different context around performance, around where you are. So as an example, we're looking at total channel right now. If I wanted to just look at distribution, when I select distribution, you'll see that our revenue map pales up a little bit. So the distribution revenue is a little bit lighter. Our word map's going to change, obviously, forecast versus target. Everything is synchronized here. So there's lots of different ways to get information from the plan. And of course, that information is synchronized, and it's also purpose made for each particular user type, right? So again, this is stuff that pretty much rubber meets the road stuff. You can also add additional tabs up here. We'll see some additional tabs as we walk through. We have full help available. You'll see over here, we just do a search here. So if we just, for instance, do forecast search. So this just gives us search results. So it'll guide you through how to forecast. You can search within these results. You can also even ask in our own planning analytics form. So we have intelligent help, and you also have access to IBM documentation around it. Now, there's a whole lot of online reference material, documentation, things to help you work through getting onboarded into the system. So we make it a point to do that because obviously we want our customers to be up and working and using the application just as soon as possible. So maybe we want to take a look at changing some values, right? So doing some contribution work. So we have an OpEx button right here. So this takes us to an operating expense dashboard or workspace in our terminology. And what's kind of cool here, you'll see we're looking at travel, but we can also take our radio button up here and go all the way back to a total level. So then here's all of our total OpEx. So payroll, office expense, travel, occupancy, marketing, depreciation, all that good stuff. Some cash, some non-cash, right? But you can page back and forth between all of these particular items. And of course, we want to make it very simple and straightforward for folks to get information into the plan. So if we wanted to make a change here, so I'm at the total year, you'll see you have a total year, and then we have all of our months preceding. What if I want to increase this 30%? Right, okay, so let's do that. Boom, pushes everything back through. You see how it pushes through. We can also, of course, hold. So maybe we want our total travel expenses to stay right where they are at 47.1, and we've already increased this 30. Maybe we want to increase our vehicles expense, 10%, right? So something kind of average, right? But it'll hold that value at 47.143. You have shortcuts like that. So increase, decrease, other types of shortcuts that make it easy. You can use little carrots to populate stuff left and right. You also have the capability to utilize what we call cost algorithms. So like phased cost is another way to put it. So if we take a look here, for instance, 445, where you have throughout the year, you have a certain variability that is defined. So, that's 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. That's a 445 variance, but you can also do any kind of other seasonal profiles, etc. So you're able to apply seasonality cost, do that very easily, and without a whole lot of fanfare getting it done. Of course, getting access to information. So looking at where information, where numbers come from, right? So drilling through, of course, we do that innately in the application. So if we were to come back here and let's look at, you know what? Actually, I think it was back in OpEx. Yeah, here we go. That's right. Here we go. Right. Yeah, on this tab. So this tab is essentially summation. Here's all your expenses, any line items, face cost, and then you're just adding that revenue back in. Well, if we look at this gross revenue number, I'm just clicking here. When I right click, I have a number of different options available to me. You can do intelligent spreads. You'll see that about a third of the way down. That allows you to do profiled spreads, percentage spreads, a lot of other different types of ways to get data spread across the organization, relative proportional, a lot of capability there. But if we wanted to see what this number is made of, we just click drill through, and then we have what all the children are, right? So we can just expand and contract here to see what those bottom line revenue numbers are. You can even, in this case, switch around, so mix and match your rows and columns. So then here, now we have revenue by channel, right? Well, maybe we want to add that to our current workspace sheet. Easy, just click that button, boom, it's right there. So makes things particularly easy to determine where products, where numbers came from, right? So revenue is going to be made up of course, different channel revenue numbers. In our case, different locations, different products. Could be any number of things. And insurance is going to be premiums. Premiums could be by line of insurance, right? So with banks. It could be loan revenue, it could be other interest revenue. So maybe bank accounts, that kind of thing, where maybe you're charging lines of credit, et cetera. You're able to easily drill back to that. Now, something else I mentioned earlier was making a structural change and doing it on the fly, right? So here I'm just moving over to a product plan page. And what you'll see here, of course, we have just your kind of average numbers and everything, nothing unusual there. But we have a couple of buttons over here. So add new product. So what we can do, and of course, these interfaces and buttons can be customized depending upon what you're wanting to do. If you want to add a new account, because of course, you're never going to take away accounts. That's not good audit. You want to leave those accounts. If you want to inactivate them, you can do that, but you always want to keep them in. But you might want to add an account to the chart of accounts, right? So maybe a new division comes in, you want to have cost, expenses, revenue for that division. That necessitates a new account because it's going to be part of that account code is going to have that little section, that little segment, right, for division. So that creates a brand new account. You can add all of that on the fly without the need to reach out to anybody in IT, without the need of any code to do it, without the need to shut down the server. You can do it all online, all while everyone else is working, and then everything is dynamically updated. So here we're just giving you a list of things that you can default in with, in this case, drop-down boxes. So remember, we saw our different channels: retail, internet, distribution, et cetera. But you can also have fields where you can just key things in. And, so if we wanted to give it a new product number, we just put that product number here and just manually key it in. So the point here is you're still able to enforce auditability of the plan, enforce control over the plan, but then give folks the capability to add things if they need to as they go through that planning process. So one thing, of course, one of the hotter topics out there now is AI forecasting. We see artificial intelligence everywhere, whether it's in the Internet of Things, so that could be in your refrigerator, if it's out in cars, automobiles. So most cars now have, you have your MMI, your multimedia interface. There's AI that's built into that system to monitor all the various systems in the car. Obviously, artificial intelligence, machine learning has pretty significant application in planning, because this is where you can do those much tighter predictions. So you have a higher confidence interval, right? In other words, a higher probability that prediction is very close to reality, right? So as an example, just to show you how we can utilize that here in planning, let's jump over to this page. And so this is another model. So we're looking now at a car sales model. And what you'll see is that we have some periodic data here, different regions. And let's say we wanted to do a prediction for, let's just go ahead and select all of our stuff here. So we're going to look at these previous numbers, not just these, but also what we have before May of 20. And then we're going to ask Planning Analytics to look at all of the available machine learning models. So remember, if you've ever worked in Jupyter notebooks and worked with models and worked with trees, so trees, k-nearest number, exponential smoothing, all of these different AI forecasting models, those are all available to you innately within Planning Analytics. So what Planning Analytics will do is it will, once you have asked the question or given it a request, in this case, if we just pop this little prediction window up and we tell Planning Analytics that we want to go, let's go from September of 20, right? Because that's right, that's the first blank month that we have. Let's roll, there it is right there. So we want to go from September of 20 to December of 21. We also want to save statistical details as a comment. So anyway, let me continue where I was going a minute ago. So we're asking the question to Planning Analytics. So we're coming over here to the forecast and we're asking Planning Analytics to predict from September of 20 to December of 21, right? This way we can just see how it arrived at that decision, and it will be a note or a comment that will live in that plan. So anyone who has access to the plan can go and look at that and say, oh, okay, here's how it did it. So we click this preview button, and what we see is we get what that forecast is going to be. So here is our forecast period, right? So if you look right down here, here's September of 20, it's that first dot there. So you'll see the predicted values along with this area of variability, right? So of course, the further you get out on your time horizon, the wider that variability is going to be, because the further you get away from what you have in real history, the more difficult it is to effectively predict what's going to be occurring later, right? So the further you get out. So this is still a very tight forecast. I mean, this is something that looks really good. So if we look, now we had selected a 95% confidence level. Well, we're delivering this exponential smoothing model is delivering 93.3. Well, that's plenty close enough. Also, it's factoring in seasonality. So in this case, seasonality has a very, very significant role in this forecast. So 90 and a half. So, it's very, very high very, very high role in this forecast, significant role. You can also, you click this learn more link, it'll take you to all the models, and it'll explain how basically it'll tell you, give you all the models, what their effectiveness was, how effective each model was. And keep in mind that planning analytics is utilizing Watson to do all the training of the model. So in other words, it takes a sample set of data, determines which models are the most effective for that sample set of data, and then will use the best one to actually churn through all of the data. So it's a pretty complex process, but done very quickly because, again, this is an in-memory tool, and the way that we built out our machine learning models are very, very fast. So you have a very effective way to come up with a much tighter forecast, and that's the whole idea. So now let's talk about the virtual dimensions. So remember, I'd mentioned those earlier. Just as an example, let's go right here. So I have opened up a new workspace page. And what I did is I just took my product dimension right here. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a new virtual dimension from the attributes of this product dimension. So what that means, so an attribute allows you to further define a specific dimension. So in this case, the dimension is product. Well, the products are all of these cars. So you'll see S-Series sedan and all that. Well, these cars can have different engine types, engine sizes, product types, so sedan or coupe, or interior style. We refer to these as attributes. You can take any of these attributes, as some have been done, we've done already over here, color, customer target, engine size, engine type, etc., and turn them into a virtual dimension. So what if we want to analyze interior style as a new virtual dimension? Maybe we're going to do a marketing campaign and we're going to promote leather interiors. Let's say that. So I right click, you'll see we have the option to create a new hierarchy. So yes, please, let's do that. And now what we can do, let's get rid of this. We don't really need this now. If I refresh, then what you'll see is we will have our new interior style. Let that go down. So what we can do with this is, while that's going, I am going to use my favorite cube here. So let's pull world sales over here. So these are, you can define views for any cube, of course. So in this case, we just have a little view that right now is telling us unit sales, all here, by quarter or region. I want to swap product with region. And now what we can do is, let's get that. We'll take, I don't know what we can do another thing here because that's not popping up. So that's fine. What we'll do is we'll just take another one. We will take, let's just swap this by engine type. So now, much in the same way as we would have seen with the interior style, just going to use this one for now. We can use these virtual dimensions directly within a cube. So in this case, maybe I want to look at, I'm going to pare down the results here. So I want performance and electric. I select keep, and then we just have those two suspects. So we pare down our results here. So what we could do here is, in this case, even do additional analysis utilizing what we call a personal scenario or a sandbox. So in this case, I'm just selecting this cube. And what I'm going to do here, you'll see that we have a bunch of other sandboxes here. So even if I wanted to create a new sandbox, and we'll just say, create a new sandbox, and we'll call it performance. Let's say performance promo. Performance promo, we'll just use the base as to populate that new sandbox version. So now you'll see that we have our performance promo. Well, now if we make a change, like for instance, if we're looking at total here and we want to, let's go to total performance and we'll increase it 30%. When you make that change, all the numbers highlight in pale blue. So that tells you that a change has been made. And now keep in mind that when you make that change here, that'll affect numbers all the way across the plan, right? So anywhere else where those numbers are affected will be highlighted in that pale blue for this given scenario. So these scenarios are off the grid. So what we can do is we can have any number, any user can have any number of different scenarios, kind of to bird dog information, and in different plan, let's say, different plan states, right? So here we have the performance promo, but maybe we have best case, worst case, most likely, et cetera. Anyway, once that user is happy with what they see, then they can commit it to the plan, and then it will become a part of the base plan. So pretty straightforward stuff. So you'll see that pretty easy to use those virtual dimensions, right? Of which we have many over here. Now, let's talk about what you can do in Excel. I'll do a quick thing here just to show you. So we have our performance promo, right? So now, if we minimize this, here we go, and open up planning analytics for Excel, then what you'll see here, we have, so, you have your little tabs for everything, right? So we have our own over here. And of course, it's going to ask us to log in so we can have that live data connection. So I will do that. So now what we can do is we can go jump in and do some more cool stuff. Okay, so now these are, remember the views that we just saw a minute ago, my favorite view, world sales. There it is. Now, I could just drag it over here. That would give us an exploration, which means that kind of an ad hoc, quick and dirty analysis. But you could also do a number of other things. So just to show you, I'm just going to right click. So you'll see exploration and quick report and dynamic report and custom report, a lot of different ways to do things. So explorations, again, ad hoc slice and dice. It's dynamically tied to live data. Quick reports, quick and easy, non-formula based. Dynamic reports, more formatted. In the custom reports, you can do a whole lot with. So custom reports, you could have multiple sources of reports of multiple models on one given sheet. In any of these, you can push back to workspace. So in this case, we just want to do, let's do an exploration here. So you'll see a little bar has popped up. Well, here's our rows, our columns, and our context. And if we wanted to, here you can, of course, double click to expand and contract and all that kind of cool stuff, right? So this is live data. But now let's say that we wanted to maybe do a comparison between our performance promo and that base, right? So what I'm going to do here is, let's do this on a new sheet. I'm just going to create a new quick report. So now this is where you can do a lot of cool formatting. And what we can do here is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to copy this and paste it, say right here. Okay. So now if we wanted to, we could just type in, right? So that was our new personal scenario. And so now you see the numbers went up, right? 380 versus 368. So you still have that dynamic ability to change things on the fly. So even want to do a comparison here, maybe do a variance analysis. We could do something quick and dirty, say, okay, here's our base versus, or yeah, here's our new scenario versus base, right? Do this conditional formatting, the whole thing all the way down. So pretty straightforward stuff. You want to do conditional formatting, you can do all the stuff you could do in Excel, you can do right here, but you're using this live plan data. So a lot of flexibility and utility there. With that, that concludes my part of the demo. So Don, I'll turn it back over to you for the last part of our hour.
Okay, I'll take myself off mute, and if you can make me the presenter again.
Let's see. Yeah.
And
Well, I don't even know where I do. Can I do that here?
Yep, I've already done it.
Good. Okay, good. Because I was like, I don't know if I can do that. Okay, cool. All right, you're the man.
And let's say if I share my screen. All right, it looks like I am sharing, and hopefully everybody got a lot out of that demonstration. Obviously, we've probably scratched the surface. Planning analytics is an extremely powerful tool. One of the questions we often get about this is, yeah, but we're using Essbase where it's okay, but planning analytics looks great, but can we change and should we change? Have you ever done this before? Have you ever migrated and helped us move from one platform to another? So with that, I'd like to introduce Brendan Austin, who leads our planning analytics practice, to kind of address that very specific question. Brendan?
Thank you, Don. Like Don said, my name is Brendan Austin. I lead the planning analytics practice for LPA. I wanted to give you guys an example today of this exact process that we did with one of our larger clients. White Lodging Services is a large hospitality service company based in Indiana. They had been using Essbase for over 20 years, I believe, when we approached them to talk about planning analytics. At that time, they were very frustrated with Essbase and that it wasn't as scalable a solution as what they were looking for. They were very dependent upon IT to make changes and to kind of maintain the system. And they wanted to really be able to create their own models within finance and accounting and expand the use of cubing technology. So we came in and we helped them install planning analytics on premise. We got them up and running, and we were able to utilize a lot of the Essbase structure that they had created years before for their base financial statements and forecast. That structure still worked, but they just wanted to expand upon it. Within about 2 months, we had them up and running on planning analytics, and it had taken them from about 50 users to over 300 users in planning analytics. And it expanded the footprint of planning analytics over Essbase over into revenue management, HR, operations planning, treasury management. They actually use it at each one of the hotels to manage their cash on a nightly basis. Their night auditors all get into it at each one of the hotels. And it was very successful within the organization and continues to be. They continue to evolve the model over time and continue to build onto it. And the reason they love it so much is because they kind of own their own destiny with it, right? IT is not involved at all with the application other than to support the physical hardware that it's on. But finance and accounting, they do their own business rules. They maintain their own structures. They can do their own reports and analysis, etc., and get things out very quickly to the field and have the field start entering and keying data back in immediately. So they've been our client for a number of years. Actually, if you go to our website, there's a testimonial for that project that LPA did for them. So it's a very successful project. Again, like you said, we were able to reuse a lot of the Essbase content. So we didn't start from scratch. And we were able to reutilize a lot of that design. So it was quick to implement, but they are getting a lot more out of the product than what they were getting out of Essbase at the time.
Brendan, thank you so much for that discussion. And anybody who's listening to this and would like to hear more and get more specifics from Brendan, we certainly can do that for you. So let me just take this and finish up and make an offer. I'm going to say that you likely can't refuse. If you have Essbase, we would be happy to engage with you, at no cost, for spend an hour or two on the phone, really talk through what needs to be done, what your challenges are. We can engage Brendan and Steve and really get into the details of what your challenges are and how we can move forward. But typically what happens after that is you're excited and you say, yeah, but I don't have a big budget to do a big project yet. I'm going to have to do a proof of concept. We have two options here where we can do a very quick start, like 3 days, or a little bit more advanced, spend up to 5 days. And this chart, gives the check marks of the different things we can do. But in the end of the day, we can take an Essbase model you have and put it into planning analytics, show you how easy it is, how it would work. And again, whether it's 3 days or 5 days, kind of depends on how advanced you want to get. But for a very low cost, $2,500 to $5,000, you'd have a proof of concept to see the value of the tool. So with that, how to follow up? My name and phone number are right here. Again, it's very easy, don.ponji@lpa.com. And Brendan is brendan.austin@lpa.com. We are excited to have been able to present this to you. And I thank our friend Steve from IBM and look forward to connecting on the topic. With that, Annie, I think we are all set.